Hi, I'm Brian Stoner, and we're going to continue our conversation about Judy's Blue Team. As we shared before, there's a whole process that we go through in ingesting log data from different sources, normalizing it, and then having the platform correlate those related alerts into a case. There are three ways to get that data into the platform. One is through API connectors. API connectors can both ingest data into the platform from another tool or from a cloud service, but in some cases, there's actually a response capability available. So for instance, my analyst may be able to push a rule into a firewall log to stop an attack at 2 in the morning without having to wake up you as the partner or your customer. Another way that we ingest the data is from the sensor. The sensor can be virtual or physical, and it ingests the core network traffic as well as the firewall traffic, so we get that full visibility into the environment. But it also has another key capability, which is the ability to filter logs. For customers that have legacy Active Directory on-prem, legacy Exchange mail servers, other OT products, that filter can actually ingest the logs from those other sources to help get it into the platform. So let's see what this looks like inside of Stellar Cyber. This is the Stellar Cyber platform. And as we learned in the previous module, it normalizes the data as it ingests everything. This loop that you see in the middle of the portal is a combination of things. It starts with the MITRE attack kill chain. If you're not familiar with MITRE, it's a US government group that helps classify different attack techniques and shares that information in a kill chain that you can use to identify what the attackers are doing. Here, what we're seeing in the initial attempts is reconnaissance and resource development. Those are two techniques that the attackers use to gain access. But within those, there are many different techniques. So those are just kind of over-level categories, and then there's much more below that. But what I want to point out here really quick is that there are other detections that Stellar Cyber has created, like their XDR UBA. This helps understand user behavior, stands for User Behavior Analytics. It baselines, when does the user log in? When do they log out? How much data do they transfer? Where do they log in from? So now, if we see anomalous behavior and threats on a machine, we know that it may be compromised, and that's when it can correlate things into a case, okay? But for each of these different categories in the loop, there are hundreds of detections. It's very difficult as a SOC provider to manage custom detections for every customer. The great part about this platform is because the data is normalized into JSON as it's ingested, we can detect things across any log source at any point in time. A case is really the correlated alerts in a format that the analyst can use to figure out what's going on and to figure out how to remediate it. It starts with the risk score. 100 is the highest. Anything between 75 and 100, we consider a priority 1 alert and something that our analysts would engage in immediately. Next, it gives us a nice case summary and a summary of the different techniques from the kill chain that are being leveraged in the different parts of the kill chain. And this is what you would see in a normal SIEM product. You'd see a list of alerts. Now, in a traditional SIEM, the analyst has to use human glue to connect all of these things and understand that they're related. But here, the platform has done all of that work using graph machine learning. So my analyst now can actually go look at a summary of the event in a format that's much easier to understand. It gives them the origins of where the event started, how it's propagated from that compromised device to other devices, and any other services or things that the attacker has done to remain persistent or to begin to try to exfiltrate data from the target systems. This is really critical because now, instead of the analyst trying to understand if these things are related or not and try to figure out what the attacker is doing, they're given a roadmap to exactly what they're doing in real time, and it helps inform them on how they can stop what's happening. Not only that, but based on those integrations that we talked about at the top of this call, in this example, an external IP address was attacking this server, and we were able to block any communication between that compromised server and that IP address in either direction. If my analyst hits send, it sends this firewall rule to block this IP address into that FortiGate firewall via the API. It'll have a .stellar cyber extension on it, so if you ever have to audit the logs from the firewall, you'll know exactly where it came from. And now, instead of having to chase people down at 2 in the morning and wake them up to take this action, my analyst can stop it right away, significantly reducing the dwell time. Similarly, if this attacker created a user because they compromised one of the administrator accounts, we can take a similar action to either disable it temporarily or disable it forever. This is a great example of how even small businesses can have enterprise level cybersecurity. Thanks.